can be one of the most horrifying experiences for many an African child. Certain parts of school that I didn't like myself, but well, today is not a day where we come and we join the rant of the very many people who are complaining about the education system and talking about how education is not fun. We just go through it so that we get done with it and get to jobs where the money is, etc. But well, I'll have to bring in a different perspective on education that is both positive and realistic, not delusional. Welcome back to Starting Out. Here with me, Sam Abaho. This YouTube channel is linked to my Instagram account, Sammy Links, where you can find most of the information about this channel and also just a little bit about me. But today, a comment on what you think about this channel, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like if you feel like it. If you don't, well, just enjoy yourself while you're here. There is an old adage that goes, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance, i.e. choose a lesser devil. But why do they even have to be devils in the first place? Or at least, I don't know about ignorance, but something more like, and some people who are devoid of what they call the formal education system might have certain things that put them a class above those who sat in a formal classroom. In no way do I despise education, because I know that it's very important in getting me to where I am today. But I know not everybody has the same experiences, and neither is the system perfect. But what can we do about the education of today? What did I really gain from school? It might not actually have been the hundreds of hours of content being put in our heads: math, history, science, social studies, geography, all those things coming together, English and literature. What if it was something else? Down here in Africa, we're very fond of talking about how our education system is outdated, things should change, etc. But newsflash, even the Americans say that their system is outdated. We've had Elon Musk talk about how he cannot put any of his kids in the schools in the US because they are apparently not at the level that they need to be. So he had to start his own school that focuses only on computing and artificial intelligence, etc. for him and for his kids and some of those at SpaceX. And then maybe the Scandinavian countries are content with their education systems, and they do say they are some of the best in the world. But why should it be only them that say something good about the education? Fundamentally, when we were young, we were always told, and we always read in history, that the formal education system was meant to be a tool to get people out of poverty. That's why they had to endure its hardships, its pros and its cons, in order to get to that part where they finally escape poverty. And even today, where we are talking about so many people being unemployed yet being well educated, suddenly it doesn't seem to be the thing that will get us to the other side. There have been a couple of memes running around on social media where they say that, well, education might have been the key to success, but guess what? I think the padlock has changed. And to some extent it's true, to some extent it's not, because well, education is still important, but of course, like, its applicability, the way certain bits of education were applicable in the past is not how they are directly applicable in the present. It's not that somebody who studied the most degrees earns the most money today, although of course we do know that once you get to the upper echelons of academia, once you become a professor, you're entitled to certain fortunes that are paid to you, that most people, that are inaccessible to most people. We also do know that if you reach that level, you can have access to grants that have exponential numbers. But we also do know that there are people who did not go to school and could probably even be among the main contributors of those grants. So aside from escaping poverty, we also know that education in different societies in the past, in the African societies, the Japanese societies, European, all the different places that in the world, they were also just meant at a certain point to enable somebody to find what they could contribute in their society. And that's what education was about. How did education become such a chore? We may never know, but I look fondly on my past and think there's a lot that education has taught me that wasn't the books, but that was the books as well. looking fondly on my past, I remember that in school we haven't been able to build the big spaceships that we want to build in order to go to different places and conquer new territories, etc. All those things that we had fondly as we were in our childhood. For those who have read probably a book called The School Bus, I believe, about some kids who go in a magical school bus that gets them into different areas. At some point, it took them to space, and another time it took them into a beehive to understand the dynamics of how it works. At different places, it took them to different places, and it was such an adventure. We're not making big bucks yet out of the amazing English we've been taught and have been speaking for the last 12 plus years in school. No, we aren't. But school did enable me to discover. I was always excited at a certain point, especially in primary. For us who had the textbooks early, like ahead of time, we would know what the next topic was. So we're always waiting, when will the teacher get to the next topic? I remember particularly in social studies, whenever we were in that part of the old African kingdoms, the migrations, would be wondering, wow, all this is going on, what happens next? But we hear there's the foreign influence coming, there are the Arabs who are going to come in, what are they going to do? What are the Europeans going to show the Africans? What's going to happen? Who is going to win this and this battle in the past? There's Omuka Makawalega, there is a king called Mwanga. They're all going to Kabaka Mwanga, they're going to face off. Who is going to win? It gave me that guess of, I really want to discover what happens next, what's going on. And also, of course, in physics and science, we would see that, how do you explain, how do the clouds form, things like that. So you would always want to discover. For me, that's what I really learned about school. And when I stepped into the Laurel Library at our high school, I've talked about it in a video in the past, where I talked about leading people who are smarter than you. There were so many books, and they were all brightly colored, had a lot of pictures, but also a lot of information. There was one that was about space, where they would say once around the galaxy. There was a biography of Abraham Lincoln. There were the fiction books and the non-fiction books. The non-fiction books the fiction books that I actually did read were more. There was The Call of the Wild, which talks about a dog's life, a wild dog's life in the northern areas of the world, and how it's sort of like linked to its ancestors, but found its own kind of freedom, and then also under different owners. There was also Maximum Ride, which I have a whole video about, and there are so many other books really that took us into a whole other world entirely. This is what I felt that education gave me a chance, even just to get into that library, maybe not even what I studied in class. This spirit of discovery is something that education has definitely given me. Of course, even in mathematics, you'll be wondering, which method are we going to use? This number looks like a little different from the one before. So what are we going to do that's different for this particular one? And what are we going to do for those that are similar for it? Which ones are we going to repeat and reiterate? It was such an interesting experience. There was also the discovery of people. You would meet new people at different events. You would try out a new sport and find, there's a spirit of competition. Somebody wants to get better, another one wants to, improve. You have to work with people sometimes you've never met before, or you came from different places, and you just have to work together. This was something that was really beautiful about school. The second next best thing that I got, I might actually be more that I may attribute more to education than anything else, is the friends that I have, the people that I met while I was in school activities, school functions, in the university. These are people that we've been able to do life with. There are people who have been support systems. There are people who have been. We found that we have shared interests, skills that we wanted to pursue, things like debate, business, things that generally amuse us and amaze us, the movies that we watch, all those things, the dreams that we are pursuing. There's so many things that I learned from the people that I met while I was in school, while I'm in university, that I attribute to education in particular. But it also gave me a chance to see that these friends are they actually human beings. They go through a couple of things in their lives. We come from different backgrounds. There are different experiences we've been exposed to. There are different ways that we view life. So we see that they're human. They can get angry. They can get excited. They can have selfish interests at a certain point that are probably influenced by them, or where they come from, or what they have been influenced by. They are full in their humanity, because while we're having education in high school in particular, we actually had to live with these people in the same dormitory, see how they handle themselves, and probably get some insights on how better to handle ourselves. Most of how I've improved in life is because of friends, and also some people weren't particularly friends but interacted with. And this is something that education gave us, a chance to be together with each other. Actually, Elon Musk believes that one of the few things that school is actually important for is actually just meeting people and interacting, because in a highly digitized world where we are all on social media, we are entering the metaverse, cryptocurrencies coming, NFTs. At a certain point, we may actually decide not to meet other human beings entirely at all. But education seems to be the time when people are most connected with each other, engaged with each other, whether it is against their will or not, because they have to be in the same place, interact, they have to go for parties, things like that. Actually, there are some people who do say that that after high school was the time that was the most trying in their lives, because they did not have people around them regularly. You start living alone. There's the whole independence theory. But now that you are not with people, you find that actually human beings, being a societal animal, being that we survive by being together and using each other's strengths to defend ourselves, and working on each other's weaknesses to make sure that the whole group stood strong, right? We suddenly realize that without education, there would be no gathering of people, or the gathering would be limited. They get excited, they go through they have to make sacrifices, and they also go through different struggles, and sometimes you have to listen. Sometimes you also do get angry, and people come and tell you that yes, either they give you comfort or direction. But it is a very beautiful experience that education gave us, to be together with other human beings. Interestingly enough, endurance is also personally, I could also say it's the biggest thing I've gained from education, because sometimes it's not all about the content that we are learning, but we would find that you have to get past this, you have to get past this number, you have to get past this calculation, you have to get past this essay, you have to get past all these things, right? And you just have to do it. You don't know how you're going to get to the other side. You just know you're at one point, and there are certain points you need to pass to get to another point. Probably you even have to discover those intermediary points. But endurance is something that school has really taught me. You had to start from primary 1, and from primary 1 you had to be promoted to primary 2, primary 3, then you get to secondary school, senior 1, senior 2, senior 3. You just had to get to the next level, and whatever the obstacle was, you actually needed to get past it. And that needed a whole lot of endurance. You could have easily given up. You could have easily said that I can't take this anymore, I can't do this anymore. But somehow you found yourself on the other side with certain efforts that you put in. So school has a big lesson on endurance, and for me, sometimes it wasn't let's say particularly history. History was a very wonderful subject when it came to reading those stories, but writing out the examination paper was something I dreaded to my core, if I could say so. But one thing that it showed me was that I could actually endure all this. I can write all this in a very short time if I've been limited to it in order to get to the next level. Awards that are given to us in school, probably from sports and different areas, they show that you had to endure through competition, and you had to also have a competitive yet nurturing spirit, right? So endurance is something big that we've learned from school. And I remember one time when our advanced level was starting to look very, very undoable. One of the people who came from the university to speak to us and encourage us after they had, of course, performed well, a culture they had in our particular combination, physics, chemistry, math. They said that school doesn't exactly teach you to keep and store all the content. Education is not about that, but it's about teaching you that you are teachable, teaching you that you can actually learn something new add something new, grow, something that opened my eyes. And even if things weren't working well at that time, by the time I came and I saw things looking so impossible in the university, I thought to myself, I have been able to learn so many things before. Why shouldn't I learn this if I've reached this level? If school were about filling our heads with information, then definitely it would become irrelevant, because at a certain point in time, everything will just be able to be Googled, and our storage space isn't significant enough, or I would say we don't use it enough as human beings to compete with the kind of space that Google and all the other data systems collect. Tony Robbins once said that the super successful people, the ones that influence the world, all of them, they did not get where they were mostly by, like they that the super successful people came together by choosing the right partners, and after choosing the right partners, they were able to create the necessary patterns. So now education, we are now seeing that we need to create more partners in education to create the patterns that move this world. School exposed me generally. It exposed me to so many things. It enabled a recap of what we've been talking about. I think school enabled me to discover and explore new things. It taught me endurance, and it also gave me a chance to interact with so many new and amazing people in this world. And while doing all this, I have been able to see that I am creating the necessary partnerships with people so that I can analyze the patterns in this world. The patterns that we've talked about, that Tony Robbins talked about, we begin by noticing these patterns. Soon we become part of the patterns, and then we can soon enough control the patterns, something that I believe that education equips us for in this world. This has been what education taught me. Not so much of I would have said that yes, I loved so much the new words, the vocabulary that I've learned, that I throw around east and west, the facts that we throw around from physics east and west, the things we probably will apply in our field in water and irrigation engineering in order to improve the systems and structures for water management in this country and feeding the world, etc. But these are the first and initial things that education has taught me. I can't wait for what education has in store for me and for the people in the future. Do refer to my video about examinations, because it has certain hints on how actually education can improve and teach more. But for now, that has been it. This has been Starting Out. Please like this video, give me a comment, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.